So we're going to look at Amber Heard, potentially how she uses her acting skills to manipulate and influence the people in the courtroom to try to get people to lean into, to agree with what she's saying. And that's what I want to do. I want to share with you the techniques and tools that I believe she's using, and I will back this up with evidence of how she is trying to manipulate the people involved in this case, but to also show you through Amber Heard's own examples where it falls apart. But also while learning what's going on in this short segment and noticing the 3 phases of verbal and emotional patterns, how she actually trips herself up, and her own body language proves her to be inauthentic.
I just remember that he left me on the closet floor, and as embarrassing as it is to say, I went up to him at some point. I don't know how much time had passed. He was sitting at the piano in the living room of the hotel room that we had. It's so... I know it may be hard to understand.
And I'll be answering all the questions where Amber Heard's global sensation when she talks about who provided the photographs to People magazine is also inauthentic.
These pictures to People magazine?
No, I gave these pictures actually to my
By inauthentic, I mean she's not being truthful. So if you're new to the Believer in Bruce channel, welcome. Please take 2 seconds to subscribe below. Be great if you give us a thumbs up, and also leave your comments below. If you're a returning Believer in Bruce subscriber, hopefully I'm going to give you some new information here. I always like to give you some knowledge that you can see in yourself, but also that you can utilise in your own life as well. Be the best version of yourself. So triggering, alright, triggering. What happens when we are triggered? I can be triggered. You can be triggered. We've all been triggered in the past. We've also got the ability to trigger other people, to influence other people. It's a learned skill. You will be doing it now with friends, family, colleagues, whatever it is. Kids, children are great at it. They pull on your heartstrings. But triggering is an actual process, okay? And this is what Amber Heard is used. This is what Amber Heard understands. This is what Amber Heard utilises to her benefit. And if you can understand this, first of all, you can see the games at play. You start to dig that little bit deeper. You start to understand more of what's actually occurring. You're not so blind to being influenced or manipulated yourself. I want to talk about emotion first, okay? Because this is what Amber Heard leans into greatly, yeah? And she should. She should. She's trying to get the people involved in the case to agree with her. But emotion, pulling on the heartstrings, it's one of the most powerful tools known to all of us on this planet about how to win somebody across, how to persuade, how to influence. Think about it now. You really dislike somebody, okay? You really dislike somebody. They've done something to you in the past. You're not very positive towards them. You're actually quite negative, that narrative that runs inside your head. But then you come together and you're face to face. You may have exchanged some messages online, whatever it may be. But then they start crying. Now, if you're a human with a head and a heart, above 80% of us would start to feel differently about that person because it's gone too far. We didn't want it to go there. We thought we did, but we didn't. So crying is the #1 thing, the #1 activity, task, okay? That if somebody does, it will trigger you. It will absolutely trigger you because you're human. You've got a head and a heart. And we can't help it. We've got to fight really hard to try to stay balanced if you wanted to continue that original feeling. Yeah, it manipulates, it coerces, it nudges us, it, shoves us in a different direction because we are in tune with that. And ultimately, we don't want somebody to cry. We don't want somebody to be that upset. Something just switches in here. I could go into that, but again, that would probably be a different video, okay? But this is what Amber Heard utilises. This is her crux. Yeah, this is her absolute crux. This is what she leans into probably a little bit too much, which starts to set off the senses about, okay, I can see what's going on here. I can see the manipulation techniques. But there's a specific example, okay, that I believe other people haven't zoned in on, and I don't know why, because it's quite obvious when I show you about how she tries to use it too much all right, how she uses it too much. Because when we look at the limbic system, okay, we're looking at where Amber Heard is baseline, where she's rational, and then when she becomes emotional, which is above her baseline, all right? Now, when you are calm, think about yourself here. Again, if you always put yourself in the subject's position that I'm talking about, you'll understand it a little bit more. It'll help you with your head and heart, but also other people. Now, Amber Heard's relatively calm when she's explaining certain things. In fact, when she's explaining certain situations that she's been in with Johnny, it's almost as if she's too calm. Yeah, she reacts to certain situations, but she doesn't react to others. Sometimes more powerful, sometimes more negative, sometimes, you know, more evocative, if I can use it, where you would expect, well, if you reacted like this and this one's more powerful, your reaction should gain, it should be enhanced, it should be, you know, elevated. But that's not always the case. But my thing with Amber Heard here is I'm going to play a very short segment where Amber Heard, I believe, is using manipulation techniques, and I'll explain why. But I'm going to play this here. Notice the phases of Amber Heard's non-verbal communication, but also her verbal communication as well. What's for what we call the emotional curve? Yeah, the emotional curve, it's in all good storybooks, it's in all good movies. It takes you on a journey, it grabs you, you want to find out what's there. In every type of movie, we've got an emotional curve. But I'm going to play this little segment here and look for the emotional differences in what Amber Heard's saying.
I just remember that he left me on the closet floor, and as embarrassing as it is to say, I went up to him at some point. I don't know how much time had passed. He was sitting at the piano in the living room of the hotel room that we had. I know it may be hard to understand.
Now, what I want to talk about, there is 3 distinct phases. And what I mean by the 3 distinct phases is there is no curve. Okay, there is no curve. Now, I want you to think about you as a child, or if you've got children, because this is where it starts to make sense and you can understand why I'm starting to question this, all right? So we talk about something. If it's something upsetting, that limbic system kicks in, the hippocampus, you know, recalls information and the feelings that were going on at that particular time, plus any additional feelings that have accumulated over that period until we're talking about it right now. Could be a loved one. I could, you know, start talking about my grandmother, and I start recalling the memories. Me and my grandmother had a really strong relationship. And somewhere down that line, that amygdala will start reacting, that limbic system will start kicking in. The hippocampus gives me really good memories. It starts, you know, messing with my emotional baseline, and I might start to get a bit teary. And again, that teariness, that globus sensation will kick in. I'm going to explain that shortly. But what I'm saying is it's a curve. It sort of begins and then it, you know, ends up in a crescendo, and then you start coming back down towards your emotional baseline. What we have with Amber Heard here is 3 distinct phases, almost clear, separate phases that doesn't add up, and I'll explain why. So when she starts to talk about Johnny Depp, okay, and a negative situation, you'll hear her where that globus sensation starts to kick in, where I believe there's actually, or at least at the start, genuine emotion here.
I just remember that he left me on the closet floor, and as embarrassing
And then this is the bit that doesn't make sense, okay? It doesn't make sense if you're human with a head and a heart, how the brain works. Is that it's almost she goes from really upset to talking really factually to then being really upset again. We don't work like that. My daughter does, and I know my daughter's trying to manipulate me. She's 7 years old. If she's trying to make me feel guilty, she'll be crying, wah, wah, wah. I'll ask her a question, you know, okay, well, you know, what would make it better? Oh, well, I would like some chocolate. Oh, well, I don't think I could get some chocolate for you. Wah, wah, wah. It's like so emotional, and then boom, there's a drop, and then so emotional. I know I'm trying to be manipulated by my daughter there, and good on her as well, okay? But this is what we're seeing with Amber Heard. She gets emotional, and then there's such a drop, such a rescindement of that particular emotion That should not be there. There should be a continuation. Remember, it's a curve. The curve comes up almost like a bell curve. It ends up here and then we start to gradually come down. What we've got emotion and then boom, it drops.
I'm sitting at the piano in the living room of the hotel room.
And then very quickly back into high-end emotion again.
It's so... I know it may be hard to understand.
And the brain just doesn't work like that. Normally. Okay, I'm going to highlight the word normally. If there was genuine emotion there, we tend to see that teeter out and then it would decline. So for me, because she shifted so quickly from sad to factual to sad, from here to drop to here again, it's almost like a plane hitting turbulence, it's not average. Now you would have to inquire, at least be curious, even if you're an Amber Heard supporter here. Remember, I'm not bothered about Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, about the authenticity of her feelings, of what she's trying to perform, what she's trying to offer, because it doesn't make sense in any emotional capacity. Now there could be another reason for this. We know that Amber is being diagnosed with various mental conditions that she needs some support with. Disassociation could be one of the reasons, potentially, why she has the uncommon ability to be upset and then not, and then to flip straight back in to being upset again. But what I'm saying is it has to be questioned in a fair and balanced way, because it's definitely not average. This is the triggering part that I'm talking about, okay? I believe here, in this one example that nobody else, the analysts have missed, you know, the court definitely didn't pick up on. I'll be sitting there thinking, that didn't add up. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to question more around that. Why was there such a deviation of what would normally be expected if you are genuinely upset, if you are genuinely recalling negative memories? It was not there. She was able to flip from here to back again so quickly. A chameleon, to be fair. Bam, bam, bam. It's not average. You've got to ask questions about that. And now we've got the Glover sensation. Now the Glover sensation, I've received lots of questions. I put a little short video up the other day. She's been asked about, did you give People magazine the photographs? Is which she replies, no. Now remember, you've got a baseline. Anything above or anything below, we've got to inquire here. And what you see, with no doubt, whether you're a Johnny Depp fan, whether you're an Amber Heard fan, take all that away, take your opinion away, is a real strong Glover sensation. Something has triggered in Amber's brain there that has dictated fear, awareness, hyper-arousal, that has started to manipulate. She's been triggered. She's actually triggered herself by an internal thought. That question about did you give People magazine the photographs or not, she's seen that as a threat.
These pictures to People magazine.
No, I gave these pictures actually to my
Her limbic system's kicked in, the amygdala's kicked in, the pituitary gland, the adrenal gland, all this type of stuff. And what's happened is that she has triggered herself. You know, we're talking about triggers. Yeah, Amber's trying to trigger emotional responses. She's actually triggered an internal stimuli that has resulted in that Glover sensation. Because the Glover sensation is there at that particular time, at that T-junction.
These pictures to People magazine.
No, I gave these pictures actually to my
Again, biology doesn't lie. You would have to be super curious at that specific point. Why did she feel fear right then? She's been in court days now, hours, you know, interrogated, if you will. But at that particular point, the autonomous part of the brain kicked in and showed you, when she was asked, did you or did you not provide the photos to People magazine? And she tries to say, I give them to my legal team. Boom, that limbic system kicks in, that Glover sensation is there. Biology doesn't lie. You have to question that because it didn't kick in at any other time during that questioning session. Boom, there, right there.
These pictures to People magazine.
No, I gave these pictures actually to my
No other cause to believe that other than she being triggered by herself and that Glover sensation kicks in. That's why it's there. And you can notice this if you ever ask anybody a question, you know, you think there's something going on, or you know, they're quite not telling the truth. Look for that that exaggerated swallow. That's the muscles tightening through nervousness, usually because what they're talking about is making them uncomfortable enough with the response they're about to give. Always dig that little bit deeper. So again, Amber using those triggering responses on the people in the court to try and get those, you know, the view to be in her favour, and I get it. Just like Johnny Depp is as well. Like I say, I will be doing some Johnny Depp videos. In fact, if there's anything you would like me to do, comment below. But again, in a fair and balanced perspective, because I can't make the stuff up that Amber is doing and not doing, I think it's fair and balanced to be transparent and authentic and say, look what's going on here. But those 3 phases of communication would definitely indicate that she is not feeling what she's trying to offer. Yeah, to sort of win those people in. It's almost too logic. It's almost too logic with a lack of emotion, and because of that bundled together, I would definitely be questioning Amber Heard's authenticity. Hope you've enjoyed this little slant on what I believe other people are missing. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe if you haven't already. It'd be great for you to join the Believe in Bruce community. Give me a like, your comments below, and also let me know some specific examples that you would like me to do a deep dive into, because either you would find it interesting or the Believe in Bruce community would find it interesting as well. But remember, more important than any of this, believe in Bruce. Please remember to be kind to yourselves and each other.